What is trickle-down and what is bottom-up, in simplified terms?
By working from the bottom down.
Top-down?
Yeah, from up to from top to bottom, from the bottom down.
That, of course, was Alice Wahome, Mheshimiwa Alice Wahome, the legislator for Kandara, explaining to Kenyans what the bottom-up economic theory is all about. What? Now, I get it. We don't all understand economics. Not all of us have degrees in economics. Not only that, even when economics is simplified, it is boring. But there's a problem here. Yeah? Economics is your life. It is boring, yes. But the way your country is run economically and the economic policy of your country impacts you directly and will continue to impact your children's children into many generations. So we need to pay attention to this very important discussion going on in our country. And let us throw out all the jargon, economics jargon, yeah, and just discuss about money and life in our country. And to make it even easier for all of us to understand, yeah, let's start with an interesting story of what happened when Kenya gained her independence. It is important that we understand that at that time, not many Kenyans had gone to school. Indeed, very few lucky Kenyans had had the opportunity to go to school. And even those who had gone to school, even fewer had managed to proceed beyond primary school education, standard 7 in those days. And all this neatly explains one of the saddest clips I've ever watched, yeah, where Kenyans are celebrating as the Union Jack, the British flag, is lowered and the Kenyan national flag is raised for the first time. 12th December 1963. The reason why those illiterate Kenyans were overjoyed was because they imagined that in an independent Kenya, they would move into houses in Karen. Tomorrow, they imagined in an independent Kenya, they would drive the nice cars they saw the colonial Mzungu driving around town. They did not understand. You know, when I was growing up, we used to have an option, yeah, in any form, any legal form that people signed, where instead of signing, you could put your thumbprint. And you can be sure that most people took the option of putting the thumbprint as Kenya gained her independence in 1963. Those few who took the option of signing, yeah, maybe somebody had dropped off in standard 3 or standard 4, would sign and then look around. Nimesign. Sijaweka kidole, nime actually sign. Mimi nani? Mimi ni mtu. Nimesoma. And if there was some girl they were interested in, they would be very determined that this nice girl would see that actually they signed. They didn't put a thumbprint. I kid you not. Now, this was the environment of early Kenya, young Kenya, baby Kenya if you like, where an economic policy, a policy on life and money, had to be implemented. First of all, people would need to come up with that policy and then implement it. And the main thinker who was pushing through this important decision and actually doing a lot of things in cabinet, including changing the Lancaster House constitution, but that is a story for another video. The main guy doing all this, behind all this, was a Form 2 dropout called Tomboya. But Mboya was brilliant, exceptionally brilliant, and he was being assisted on the technical side by a man called Philip Ndegwa. And Mboya and Ndegwa must have surprised many people, because neighboring Tanzania had taken the route of something called African socialism. And Mboya himself talked a lot about African socialism in many of his speeches. And therefore, I'm guessing many people at the time expected him to go in that direction. Just be patient with me. Shortly you'll understand what this trickle-down economics is all about. The economic foundation of Kenya was very well thought out, very clear and very practical. Put emphasis on education, because educated people are the ones who are most likely to gain skills required to run an economy, to get the economy of the young nation running as quickly as possible, booming even. Meanwhile, the government was to go out of its way to assist the Kenyans already with the skills, the few Kenyans, so that as they thrived, the effects of their prosperity would trickle down to the rest of the people. You establish a factory as a Kenyan. You employ Kenyans in a factory, thus creating employment. The effects of your prosperity trickle down to your workers who you pay a salary, and who work in conditions better than the conditions they were faced with working for the Mzungu, the colonial masters of the country before independence. And the founding fathers of the nation did something very smart. They decided, let's not pretend we're going to start factories today, industries tomorrow. Let us focus on the skills our people already have. Agriculture. Then we can also easily feed ourselves as a country as we progress economically. Let us also use something else we have, a beautiful country, which many visitors would like to come and see. So the government made it very easy for foreigners to come in, build hotels to attract these tourists. Folks, it worked like a charm. The first few years of Kenya, booming economy. And indeed, the prosperity was trickling down to ordinary Kenyans who are getting jobs, earning money. But things started to go wrong. The government, indeed the deep state, recognized threats to the government of Jomo Kenyatta, or a threat to the government of Jomo Kenyatta. And these were the Mzungus who had decided to stay on in Kenya. Many of them were very rich. And somebody who is rich can easily finance a rebellion against the government, can easily finance an uprising against the government. And therefore these Mzungus, Kenyan citizens, many of them had been born in Kenya, born and bred in Kenya, were identified as a threat to the security of the state. Solution? Quickly ensure that some Kenyans were also as rich as these Mzungus. And of course, we're talking about the Kenyans who are close to the government of the day. It was important that they get rich as quickly as possible to deal with this economic threat, and indeed political threat to the government of the day. And that is why some strange, bizarre things started happening. Like you own a big business somewhere in Mombasa. Some people approach you and they tell you, mzee anataka kununua hii shamba yako yote. Mzee, of course, is referring to the president, Jomo Kenyatta. And you tell them you're not interested in selling. And they tell you, you have no option but to sell to them. You have a thriving business along Biashara Street. Yeah, same thing happens to you. You may have heard about the aggressive Africanization program the Kenyan government got involved in very early on, after independence. Of course, the whole thing was abused by opportunists. Yeah, because if you approached somebody and told them that the president was interested in purchasing their business or their land, there was no way they would place a call to State House to confirm. Hello? Can I speak to President Jomo Kenyatta? I just want to confirm that he has sent some fellows here to buy my business by force. You couldn't do that. No way. People feared Jomo, and with good reason. A move like that could easily land you 6 feet under. And that is how corruption in high places, very damaging, was born in Kenya. Now, corruption damages an economy. An individual is paid for medicine they never delivered, and therefore that small health center in a rural area ends up without that vital medication. And somebody dies, children die, etc., etc. Corruption is evil. But let's cut to the chase. That is how the nation called Kenya grew. Fast forward to the present. You know, if something is in the foundation of a building, it is impossible to get rid of it. Corruption is in the foundation of the nation called Kenya. Get-rich-quick schemes, through government contracts, is in the blood, the DNA, the foundation of the country called Kenya. So deep that many believe if you remove this thing that is so deep in the body of the country called Kenya, the patient could easily die. And this is why when economists come and give us theories about the effects of trickle-down, you build the economy and then good things happen to those people down there because things trickle down to the common man, employment opportunities, etc., etc. I just laugh. I laugh bitterly when I listen to such nonsensical theories from people who do not understand the country called Kenya. They don't know its history. Now let's keep this very simple. The rich people in Kenya, the famously rich in Kenya, whom you know, how did they make their money? What business did they establish? What factory do they have? What industry do they own? How did they make their money? How? If you go to other countries, like the US for instance, you'll be shown an African American who is very wealthy, and you'll be told that man started with one dry cleaning shop. Now he has a chain of them across the state or across the entire country. You'll be shown that other man started by creating one toy. Now he has huge toy factories. That's how he's rich. In our beloved Kenya, there are no such stories. There are no such rich people. So trickle-down does not apply. I think the best description of our economic system was that given by the late president of Tanzania, the founding father, Mwalimu Julius Kabarage Nyerere, who called Kenya a man-eat-man country or society. Of course, Kenyans at the time jeered back and told Mwalimu Nyerere, that's okay because your country is a man-eat-nothing system. But that response did not change the truth. Kenya's economic system is rotten to the core. And one does not need to be an economist to understand that. Because how do you get rich in Kenya today? You get elected to parliament. That's one way. Another way, you find a way to supply something to the government, including air, thin air. And by the way, when you get this contract from the government that makes you rich, you're frustrating a genuine Kenyan factory, a genuine Kenyan industry, which is best placed to supply that contract, but they lose it to you. Had that factory gotten that contract, they would have expanded, employed more Kenyans. The benefits would have trickled down to ordinary wananchi. Another way to get rich in Kenya, you find a way to spread propaganda online, and you get paid for it handsomely. All those methods of getting rich in Kenya are very damaging to other Kenyans. They benefit only you and you alone. And so with that kind of background, let's come to the present. The bottom-up economic system or policy suggested, proposed by the Deputy President, if he were to be elected President of Kenya, does not make any sense in our environment. And I will tell you why. It's a good idea on paper. Empower the common man. Empower the small person, so that they're able to make money. Every government project you get, you focus on the benefits on ordinary Kenyans. So for instance, if you are supposed to use a machine to mix the cement, to build a certain bridge, and there's a lot of that happening in Kenya currently, you trash the machine and you employ Kenyans on the ground to do the mixing of that cement. Instead of huge infrastructural projects like the SGR, you establish markets for people to sell the agricultural products along the Mombasa Road, all the way from Mombasa to Nairobi. It is actually very impressive on paper. And we are told a country called China became the economic power as it is today by using something similar to the bottom-up economic policy. But wait a minute. Where are you going to be implementing this thing? Is it in a country called Kenya? The country we all know very well called Kenya? Where we know that no contract can be given, no government contract can be given, where nobody is eating something. Actually, where nobody is eating 90% of the project, so that only 10% actually ends up being physically spent on that project. All the rest of the money goes into an individual's pocket. That's Kenya. In my view, this thing is just a fairy tale, a story, and it's not even a good bedtime story, because Kenyans are suffering. Don't you think it would be much more effective? There would be a bigger impact if somebody came and told us how they are going to fight corruption in Kenya. Because corruption is the monster that eats the children's food, actually eats everything. Folks, grand theories will not save Kenya. No way. Let us not even talk about the track record of the people proposing these things. Let's not even go there. Let's not even dare interrogate how they became billionaires selling chickens on the highway. Actually, it makes much more sense when somebody talks about putting an emphasis on rural areas for development. Of course, again, they'll have to explain to us how they're going to get around these corruption manenos. But the reason why that makes much more sense to me as a policy for money and life going forward for the country called Kenya, or as an economic policy of a coming government, is because of something called devolution. Since devolution was implemented in this country, the truth is, with all our problems, with all the corruption, we can see the impact. Things have actually happened in the counties despite the corruption. Yes, corruption is still alive and well. 90% of those funds that would have done amazing things in counties went into individuals' pockets. But the 10% has revolutionized many counties. The truth is, devolution has had a massive impact on Kenya. Devolution has saved Kenya and the Kenyan economy from total collapse. Because even today, when the government is broke, funds are not being sent to the counties. The counties are still running somehow. What would have happened if the 2010 constitution did not have devolution? I believe Kenya would have been in a much worse position than it is today. Therefore, rural emphasis to me makes sense, because you go beyond the counties and you go into small, remote, rural areas and you find a way to focus government funds and development in those areas. Otherwise, grand promises which come at around election time should be ignored by Kenyans. Let me remind you very quickly of the laptops. You remember the laptop saga? Laptops for all children in our schools. Now, I know you'll shoot back that that project was killed by somebody going to court over contracts, etc., etc. But I put it to you, this government that has been ignoring court orders would have put laptops in the hands of every standard 1 child in the country had they wanted to. The truth is, they did not want to do that. And by the way, can you guess who came up with this grand idea in 2013? This grand vote-getting idea. Do you know who came up with it in 2013? I'll give you a hint. The same man who is now the main promoter of the bottom-up economic theory. I insist on calling it a theory. And I must admit that just like the laptops, this idea is really taking off. Many Kenyans have grabbed it and are running with it. Even economic experts and respected economic thinkers in the country. Yeah, as we know nothing, we're not economists. We should therefore shut up. Hakuna kitu tunajua. In fact, I'll not be surprised if somebody asks me in the comments area, Chris, what are your qualifications in economics to discuss such a technical issue? That's a nice one. And I have an answer. My qualifications, all that I have, is that I am a long-suffering Kenyan who has seen a lot of lies from politicians over the years. Different politicians. It is the same forest, different monkeys, but the same forest. And that is why you'll find a lot of mind-boggling information about these same politicians, information they don't want you to have, in my weekly intelligence briefings. Just listen in.